It's the battle of David Goliath taking place in your condiment aisle.
Hellmann's, the king of mayonnaise, is suing a smaller competitor for false advertising.
Mayonnaise is one of those condiments most people never think twice about. It's sitting in millions of refrigerators across the United States, spread on sandwiches, mixed into salads, added to burgers, and used in everything from dips to pasta dishes. Because it's so common, most people assume every jar on the grocery store shelf is basically the same. But that assumption can be very misleading. Many popular mayonnaise brands are made with highly refined seed oils, artificial stabilizers, preservatives, and emulsifiers designed to keep the product shelf-stable for months or even years. Some brands even market themselves as olive oil mayo or healthy alternatives, while still relying heavily on cheap processed oils and additives that have very little to do with traditional mayonnaise recipes. Authentic mayonnaise is actually very simple. At its core, it's just oil, egg yolks, vinegar, or lemon juice, and a small amount of seasoning. But when mass production enters the picture, that simple recipe can turn into a long ingredient list that looks more like a chemistry experiment than a kitchen staple. And because mayonnaise is often eaten regularly, sometimes daily, those ingredients can quietly become part of your diet far more often than you realize. Today, we're exposing 8 mayonnaise brands you should avoid buying again, including several big names you've probably seen every time you walk down the condiment aisle. But don't worry, this isn't about giving up mayonnaise entirely. At the end of this video, we'll also show you 2 safer mayonnaise brands that focus on simpler ingredients and better quality oils. Before we dive in, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss these eye-opening food breakdowns. Let's get started. 1. Kraft Real Mayonnaise. Kraft Real Mayonnaise is one of the most widely recognized mayonnaise brands in American grocery stores, largely because of its long history and strong brand recognition. However, when you look closely at the ingredient list, it becomes clear that the product relies heavily on industrial food processing methods rather than the simple recipe that traditional mayonnaise is built on. One of the biggest concerns is the type of oil used. Kraft Real Mayonnaise is primarily made with soybean oil, which is one of the most commonly used refined vegetable oils in processed foods. Soybean oil is inexpensive and widely available, which is why large food manufacturers often rely on it to keep production costs low. However, it is also highly refined and heavily processed before reaching store shelves. The refining process often involves chemical extraction, bleaching, and deodorizing steps designed to stabilize the oil and extend shelf life. Another issue is the use of additives and stabilizers. Mass-produced mayonnaise must remain consistent in texture and flavor even after sitting in warehouses and grocery stores for long periods. To achieve this, manufacturers often include ingredients such as preservatives, flavor enhancers, and emulsifiers that help maintain stability. While these ingredients are generally approved for consumption, they make the product much more processed than traditional homemade mayonnaise. There is also the issue of marketing perception. Because the jar simply says real mayonnaise, many consumers assume the product closely resembles the classic recipe made with eggs, oil, and vinegar. In reality, industrial mayonnaise is designed for large-scale production and extended shelf stability, which changes the ingredient profile significantly. Another factor worth considering is sodium content. Mayonnaise may not seem like a salty food at first glance, but regular use on sandwiches, burgers, and salads can quietly increase sodium intake over time. 2. Miracle Whip. Miracle Whip is often placed right next to mayonnaise on grocery store shelves, but technically it is not even classified as real mayonnaise. The product was originally developed as a lower-cost alternative that could be produced more cheaply than traditional mayonnaise. Instead of following the classic recipe based on eggs and oil, Miracle Whip includes a mixture of water, soybean oil, corn syrup, and various flavoring agents designed to mimic the creamy texture of mayonnaise while creating a sweeter, tangier taste profile. One of the biggest differences is the addition of sugar and high fructose corn syrup. Traditional mayonnaise recipes do not include these ingredients, but Miracle Whip uses them to create its distinctive flavor. For consumers who are trying to limit added sugars in their diets, this can be an unexpected source. Because Miracle Whip is commonly used in sandwiches, potato salads, and dips, the sugar content can quietly become part of daily meals without people realizing it. Another concern is the heavy use of stabilizers and preservatives. Miracle Whip must maintain its texture and flavor through large-scale production, transportation, and extended shelf storage. To accomplish this, the ingredient list includes various additives designed to keep the mixture stable and prevent separation. While these ingredients are approved for use in processed foods, they move the product further away from the simple ingredients associated with traditional mayonnaise. There is also the issue of marketing confusion. Many consumers grow up thinking Miracle Whip is just another type of mayonnaise because it looks similar and is used in the same recipes. However, the formulation is quite different. Instead Instead of being primarily oil and egg yolks, Miracle Whip is essentially a processed dressing designed to imitate mayonnaise while incorporating sweeteners and additional ingredients. 3. Hellmann's Real Mayonnaise. Hellmann's Real Mayonnaise is one of the most recognizable mayonnaise brands in the United States, often marketed as a classic condiment that has been trusted for generations. While it is widely used in households and restaurants, its ingredient profile still reflects the reality of large-scale food manufacturing. One of the main ingredients in Hellmann's mayonnaise is soybean oil, which is commonly used in mass-produced condiments because it is inexpensive and widely available. However, soybean oil is a highly refined vegetable oil that goes through multiple industrial processing steps before reaching store shelves. These steps can include chemical extraction, bleaching, and deodorizing processes designed to create a neutral tasting oil that can remain stable for long periods. While this helps manufacturers produce consistent products, it also means the oil used in these condiments is far removed from its original form. Another factor is the scale at which Hellmann's mayonnaise is produced. Large food companies often source ingredients from massive supply chains where consistency and cost control take priority. This means oils, eggs, and other ingredients may come from multiple sources rather than a single traceable origin. While the final product may appear simple on the surface, the industrial processes behind it are quite complex. The formulation also includes stabilizers and acidity regulators that help the mayonnaise maintain its texture and flavor throughout distribution and long-term storage. These ingredients allow the product to sit in warehouses and grocery stores for extended periods without separating or spoiling. There is also the issue of perception. Because Hellmann's is labeled real mayonnaise, many consumers assume it closely resembles traditional homemade mayonnaise. A classic homemade recipe usually contains egg yolks, oil, vinegar, or lemon juice, and seasoning. Industrial mayonnaise, however, is designed for shelf stability and large-scale production, which changes how the product is formulated and processed. 4. Best Foods Mayonnaise. Best Foods Mayonnaise is essentially the same product as Hellmann's, but sold under a different brand name in certain regions of the United States. The two brands are owned by the same company and share nearly identical ingredients and production methods. Like many large commercial mayonnaise products, Best Foods relies heavily on refined vegetable oils to create its creamy texture and long shelf life. Soybean oil is the primary ingredient, which is common in industrial food manufacturing because it is inexpensive and easy to source in large quantities. However, the refining process used to produce soybean oil involves multiple chemical and heat treatments designed to remove flavor, color, and impurities. While these processes help create a stable cooking oil, they also mean the oil is significantly altered from its natural state. Another factor worth considering is the scale of production involved in making products like Best Foods mayonnaise. Large condiment manufacturers produce enormous quantities of mayonnaise every year, distributing it through extensive supply chains to supermarkets and restaurants across the country. To ensure consistency across millions of jars, manufacturers rely on standardized ingredient blends and stabilizing agents that keep the product uniform regardless of where it is sold. This can include emulsifiers, acidity regulators, and preservatives that help the mayonnaise maintain its smooth texture and prevent separation during long storage periods. Packaging and shelf life also play a role in how these products are formulated. A jar of mayonnaise may sit in a distribution warehouse, travel long distances to grocery stores, and remain on shelves for months before being purchased. In order to remain stable throughout this process, the formulation must be designed to resist spoilage and maintain appearance over time. This often requires ingredients that are not part of the original traditional mayonnaise recipe. Another issue is how consumers interpret the branding. Because Best Foods mayonnaise is marketed as a traditional condiment with a long history, many people assume the product is similar to homemade mayonnaise prepared in a kitchen. In reality, large-scale production requires adjustments that prioritize stability, cost efficiency, and uniform flavor rather than simplicity. Mayonnaise itself is not inherently unhealthy, and it has been used in cooking for centuries. The concern comes from how modern mass production changes the way these condiments are made. When mayonnaise becomes a regular part of sandwiches, salads, and everyday meals, the quality of ingredients and level of processing can make a difference over time. 5. Duke's Real Mayonnaise. Duke's Real Mayonnaise has a loyal following, especially in the southern United States, where many people consider it one of the most flavorful mayonnaise brands on the market. The brand often promotes its rich taste and claims that it contains no added sugar, which appeals to consumers who want a more savory mayonnaise. However, when you examine the ingredient list and production process more closely, it still reflects many of the same industrial manufacturing practices used by other large condiment brands. One of the primary ingredients in Duke's mayonnaise is soybean oil, which is commonly used in mass-produced condiments because it is inexpensive and widely available. Soybean oil is highly refined through multiple processing steps that include chemical extraction and heat treatment. These processes help create a neutral tasting oil that remains stable for long periods, but they also make the oil far removed from its natural form. Another factor to consider is the scale at which Duke's mayonnaise is produced. Large commercial mayonnaise brands must ensure that every jar tastes exactly the same, whether it is sold in a grocery store in Georgia or a supermarket in California. To maintain this consistency, manufacturers rely on standardized ingredient blends and stabilizing agents that help control texture, acidity, and flavor. These additives allow the mayonnaise to remain smooth and uniform, even after long transportation and storage periods. Traditional homemade mayonnaise, by comparison, is typically prepared with just egg yolks, oil, vinegar, or lemon juice, and seasoning. It is consumed fresh and does not require the same stabilizers used in mass-produced versions. Another point worth considering is how mayonnaise is used in everyday meals. Many people spread it generously on sandwiches, mix it into potato salads, or combine it with other ingredients to make dips and sauces. Because mayonnaise can be consumed frequently, even small differences in oil quality and ingredient processing can accumulate over time. When a condiment becomes part of daily eating habits, the type of oil used and the level of processing behind the product can matter more than many consumers realize. 6. Blue Plate Mayonnaise. Blue Plate Mayonnaise is another historic mayonnaise brand with a strong regional following, particularly in the southern United States. Like Duke's, it has been part of American kitchens for decades and is often praised for its creamy texture and distinctive flavor. However, the ingredient structure behind the product reflects many of the same large-scale manufacturing practices found in other commercial mayonnaise brands. One of the main ingredients in Blue Plate mayonnaise is soybean oil, which is used extensively in the processed food industry because of its low cost and long shelf stability. While soybean oil is technically derived from soybeans, the refining process used to produce it involves several industrial steps designed to remove flavor, color, and impurities. This includes high heat treatment and chemical processing methods that create a stable oil suitable for large-scale food production. Another aspect of Blue Plate mayonnaise is the need for consistency across large production batches. In order to ensure that every jar has the same flavor and texture, companies often rely on standardized formulas that include acidity regulators, emulsifiers, and stabilizing ingredients. These additives help the mayonnaise maintain its smooth texture and prevent separation even after long periods of storage and transportation. While these ingredients serve practical purposes in large-scale manufacturing, they are not typically part of the original homemade mayonnaise recipe. Shelf life is another factor influencing how products like Blue Plate mayonnaise are formulated. Unlike fresh mayonnaise prepared at home, which is usually consumed shortly after it is made, store-bought mayonnaise must remain stable for months while moving through distribution networks and sitting on grocery store shelves. To achieve this extended shelf life, manufacturers design the product with ingredients that can resist spoilage and maintain appearance over time. 7. Heinz Real Mayonnaise. Heinz Real Mayonnaise is another well-known condiment brand that many people associate with quality because of the company's long reputation in the food industry. Heinz is famous for products like ketchup and sauces, and when it introduced mayonnaise, many consumers assumed it would follow the same trusted formula. However, when you examine how Heinz mayonnaise is made, it follows the same industrial approach used by many other large condiment manufacturers. The primary ingredient in Heinz Real Mayonnaise is soybean oil, which is widely used in processed foods because it is inexpensive and easy to produce in large quantities. While soybean oil originates from soybeans, it goes through extensive industrial refining before reaching store shelves. This refining process often includes chemical extraction, bleaching, and deodorizing treatments that remove impurities and create a neutral flavor. These steps are designed to produce a stable oil that can withstand long storage periods and maintain consistency across large batches of food products. Another factor to consider is how mass-produced mayonnaise must be formulated for large distribution networks. Products like Heinz mayonnaise are manufactured in enormous volumes and shipped to grocery stores across the country. To maintain a consistent taste and texture in every jar, manufacturers rely on standardized recipes that include emulsifiers and stabilizers. These ingredients help the oil and egg components remain blended together and prevent separation even after months of storage. While these additives help create a product that is easy to transport and store, they are not part of the traditional mayonnaise recipe that originated centuries ago. ago. There is also the issue of marketing perception. Because Heinz is such a familiar brand, many consumers assume the mayonnaise it produces is very similar to homemade mayonnaise made in a kitchen. Traditional mayonnaise typically contains only a handful of ingredients: egg yolks, oil, vinegar or lemon juice, and simple seasoning. In contrast, large-scale commercial mayonnaise is designed to maintain flavor and texture even after traveling long distances through warehouses and retail distribution channels. 8. Trader Joe's Real Mayonnaise. Trader Joe's Real Mayonnaise is often perceived as a better option simply because it comes from a store brand associated with natural or specialty foods. Many shoppers assume that products sold in stores like Trader Joe's automatically contain simpler ingredients or healthier formulations. However, this is not always the case. Trader Joe's Real Mayonnaise still relies on many of the same ingredient structures found in other mass-produced mayonnaise products. One of the primary ingredients used is refined vegetable oil, which serves as the base for the creamy texture of mayonnaise. Like other vegetable oils used in processed foods, this oil goes through refining steps designed to remove natural flavor and create a stable product that can be stored for long periods without spoiling. Another factor is how the mayonnaise is manufactured and packaged for retail distribution. Even though Trader Joe's products are often marketed as unique or specialty items, the mayonnaise still needs to maintain stability during shipping, storage, and time spent on store shelves. To achieve this, the product includes emulsifiers and acidity regulators that help preserve the texture and prevent the oil from separating from the egg mixture. These ingredients help create a uniform product, but also move it further away from the traditional homemade mayonnaise recipe. There is also the issue of perception versus reality. Because Trader Joe's has built a reputation for offering products that feel more natural or artisanal, many consumers assume that everything sold there is less processed. However, mayonnaise still requires careful formulation to remain shelf stable, and the final product can end up resembling other commercial mayonnaise brands more than people expect. While the ingredient list may be slightly shorter in some cases, the underlying structure of the condiment remains similar to other large-scale mayonnaise products. Now, before you throw every jar of mayonnaise out of your refrigerator, it's important to understand something. Mayonnaise itself is not the problem. Traditional mayonnaise has been used in cooking for centuries and is actually one of the simplest condiments you can make. At its core, it's just oil, egg yolks, vinegar or lemon juice, and a little seasoning. The issue is how modern mass production has changed that recipe. Many large brands rely on heavily refined vegetable oils, stabilizers, and additives to create a product that can sit on shelves for months while maintaining the same texture and flavor, but not every mayonnaise brand follows that approach. Some companies focus on simpler ingredient lists, higher quality oils, and recipes that stay closer to the original version of mayonnaise. So now let's take a look at 2 mayonnaise brands that stand out as better options when compared to many of the heavily processed alternatives. Safe brand. Number 1, Primal Kitchen Avocado Oil Mayonnaise. Primal Kitchen Avocado Oil Mayonnaise is often highlighted as a cleaner alternative to many traditional mayonnaise brands because of its focus on simpler ingredients and different oil choices. Instead of relying on refined soybean oil or other industrial vegetable oils, this mayonnaise uses avocado oil as its primary fat source. Avocado oil is often valued for its relatively stable composition and mild flavor, which works well in mayonnaise recipes. The ingredient list is also shorter than many conventional mayonnaise products, typically including avocado oil, egg yolks, vinegar, and simple seasonings. Another aspect that attracts consumers to Primal Kitchen mayonnaise is its emphasis on transparency. The brand promotes products made without certain preservatives or artificial F-flavor additives commonly used in processed condiments. This simpler formulation allows the mayonnaise to stay closer to the traditional egg and oil structure that defines authentic mayonnaise recipes. Because the ingredient list is more straightforward, consumers may find it easier to understand exactly what they are eating. The company also focuses on oils that are less heavily refined than the soybean oils commonly used in mass-produced mayonnaise. Avocado oil is often perceived as a more premium option compared to commodity vegetable oils. This difference in oil choice can influence both flavor and how the product is perceived by consumers who are trying to reduce reliance on highly refined seed oils. Another advantage of simpler mayonnaise formulations is that they rely less on stabilizers and artificial ingredients to maintain consistency. Traditional mayonnaise achieves its texture naturally through the emulsification of egg yolks and oil. When high-quality ingredients are used, fewer additives are needed to maintain that texture. This approach keeps the condiment closer to its culinary roots rather than transforming it into a heavily engineered food product. Primal Kitchen mayonnaise is often used by people who prefer condiments with shorter ingredient lists and oils that are not as commonly associated with large-scale industrial processing. While no packaged condiment is exactly the same as homemade mayonnaise prepared fresh in a kitchen, brands that emphasize simpler recipes can provide an option that feels closer to the original concept of mayonnaise. Safe brand number 2. Chosen Foods Avocado Oil Mayonnaise. Chosen Foods Avocado Oil Mayonnaise is another product that has gained attention for its use of avocado oil instead of traditional refined vegetable oils. The company focuses on producing condiments that rely on fewer ingredients and avoid some of the additives commonly found in mass-produced mayonnaise. By using avocado oil as the primary fat source, the product offers an alternative to soybean oil, which dominates the mayonnaise market due to its low cost and large-scale availability. The ingredient list in Chosen Foods mayonnaise is typically straightforward and easier to recognize compared to many mainstream brands. The formula generally includes avocado oil, egg yolks, vinegar, mustard, and salt. This simplicity reflects a recipe structure closer to traditional mayonnaise rather than the extended ingredient lists seen in many commercial condiments. Because the product is built around fewer ingredients, the overall formulation feels more transparent to consumers who prefer to understand what goes into their food. Another benefit of using avocado oil is its relatively neutral flavor and smooth texture, which works well in mayonnaise. The oil blends easily with egg yolks to create a stable emulsion without requiring as many stabilizers or artificial additives. This allows the mayonnaise to maintain its creamy consistency while keeping the ingredient list shorter. Chosen Foods also emphasizes sourcing and quality control in its marketing, which appeals to consumers who want more information about the products they buy. While the mayonnaise is still produced on a commercial scale, the brand focuses on presenting itself as an alternative to traditional processed condiments that rely heavily on commodity oils. So here's the real takeaway. Mayonnaise itself isn't the problem. The issue is how modern food manufacturing has transformed a simple recipe into a highly processed condiment in many cases. Traditional mayonnaise is just a blend of oil, egg yolks, vinegar, or lemon juice, and seasoning. But when companies start adding heavily refined oils, stabilizers, preservatives, and flavor enhancers to keep the product shelf stable for months, the result can look very different from the original recipe. Because mayonnaise is used so often in sandwiches, salads, dips, and sauces, the ingredients in that jar can quietly become part of your diet more frequently than you might expect. That's why paying attention to the type of oil and overall ingredient list can make a difference over time. If this video helped you look at a common kitchen staple in a new way, make sure you hit the like button so more people can learn about the brands hiding behind everyday grocery products. Share this video with someone who loves mayonnaise but has never checked the ingredients on the jar. And if you want more honest breakdowns of popular foods and brands, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next video. Because the next product we expose might already be sitting in your refrigerator right now,